In today's video, we're going to have a look at setting up and creating our own wireless smart home alarm system. Check it out. What's going on, guys? I hope you're all doing well. In a previous video, we had a look at a premium wireless smart home alarm solution. And while some of these solutions are great, they're not for everybody. Some of them may have a really high upfront cost to actually get all the new pieces and parts bought. They may also not integrate that well with your existing smart home system, like HomeAssistant. And they may also have additional subscription services that you might need to pay on a monthly fee. Taking all of those things into account, let's have a look at a cost-effective way of creating our own alarm system by making use of tech that we already have. I'm going to be making use of some of Ajax Online's Zignito range of devices and sensors. In the Zignito range, a lot of the products are geared towards smart home alarm systems, so it's great for this purpose. A lot of those products are all Zigbee based and they work really well with HomeAssistant, so that's another bonus. One cool product that is in this Zignito range is this indoor siren, and what's cool about the indoor siren is the fact that it's got an inbuilt battery so it can be placed anywhere, or you can mains power it. It's also got a controllable LED and you can actually control and adjust the volume and also the sound that the siren makes. Again, this is all DIY, so you can make use of whatever devices you want. If you've already got existing smart home speakers, then you could just utilize those instead of making use of indoor sirens. To follow along with this tutorial, I'm going to be assuming that you've already got a working version of HomeAssistant set up and installed. I'm also going to be assuming that you've got Hacks set up and installed, and if you have no idea what Hacks is, then check out this video that I created on it. By default, using vanilla HomeAssistant, you can already set up and create your own alarm system, but rather than doing that, we're going to be making use of a custom integration called Alarmo, and Alarmo is going to give us a few extra niceties and just some extra bits that I personally want to make use of. So let's get that added now. So from our dashboard in the side menu, we're going to select Hacks, then Integrations, and from here we're just going to select the blue plus button in the bottom right corner that says Explore and Download Repositories. Once that opens up, we're just going to start typing Alarmo, and as you start typing it, you should just see Alarmo appear in that list, so we're going to select it. From here you can get a good overview of all the different features and settings that Alarmo offers, and there is a lot of them. In the bottom right there, we're just going to choose Download this repository with Hacks. And at the time of recording this, the latest version is version 1.9.3, so I'm just going to go ahead and click download. Once that's done, you should see it appear in your list of integrations in Hacks. So if we just scroll down, we can see that there and it's pending a restart. But before we restart, there's going to be another item that we need to add. So up at the top there, we're going to choose front end. And again, in the bottom right corner, we're going to choose Explore and Download Repositories. And once that pops up, again, we're going to start typing Alarmo. And the one that we want to choose is this Alarmo card. And what this one's going to do is just give us a nice little card that sits on top of the Alarmo custom component. And as you can see there, it's going to give us this nice little countdown, which is just a nice visual aid. Again, just choose that Download Repositories with Hacks in the bottom right corner. Once that's done, it's going to tell you just need to reload for the resource to be used. So go ahead and press reload. Then in our side menu, we're going to scroll down and choose Settings, System, and then in the top right corner, we're going to press Restart. Once HomeAssistant comes back to life, we'll need to enable our newly added Alarmo integration. So to do this, we're just going to choose Settings, then Devices and Services, and in the bottom right corner, we're just going to choose to add a new integration. We're then just going to start typing Alarmo, and as we start typing that, we should see it appear in the list. But if for whatever reason it's not appearing in your list, then more than likely it's just a browser cache issue. And a very simple way to fix this is just by hitting Control and F5, and that will just clear your browser cache for you. So we're going to go ahead and just select Alarmo in the list here. And we should just see a success message. You can then assign it to an area if you want to. I'm going to assign this to the area that my wall panel is located in, but you can assign this to wherever you want. Then just go ahead and press Finish. And once you do that, you should be able to see this new Alarmo card in your integrations list. And you'll also see this new Alarmo item in your menu. Now that that's all done, we're good to go and we can start playing around with Alarmo. This isn't going to be a full in-depth tutorial on using it, but I am going to touch on some of the basics and hopefully you'll get an idea of what's capable with using Alarmo. If you are interested in having a read up on some of Alarmo's other features and capabilities, then you'll find a link to the official documentation in the description below, so go and check that out. Alternatively, if you'd like to see me do a deep dive into Alarmo and drill down into some of those more advanced features, then let me know in the comments below. Carrying on then, let's have a look at some of Alarmo's features. So in the left hand menu there, we're just going to select Alarmo. From here you can see we've got this full interface which is going to allow us to configure and control all the various different aspects of the alarm system. You can do things like create sensor groups, you can modify the different alarm modes, and you can just fine tweak and modify all the different settings of the alarm. We're going to start off by just creating some codes for our alarm, and these codes can be assigned to individual users, and the benefit of using different users and different codes is that when you go through your logs you'll be able to see which user turned off an alarm at a set period of time, or what user actually activated the alarm. So up at the top there we're just going to choose codes, and here we can see we've got a couple of different options. There's an option here for using an arm code and an option for using a disarm code. If you enable this one here, you're going to need to enter a code before you actually set an alarm. So I'm actually going to enter that one. And the reason that I'm doing this is just because I'm going to be using a wall panel and I don't want to accidentally arm the alarm or trigger a sequence of arming the alarm just by accidentally touching a button on the screen. And then I'm also going to turn on the option for using a disarm code. Another nicety of actually using Alarmo is you have the option for using a password as opposed to the traditional PIN code. Personally, PIN codes are definitely easier, especially if you're entering an alarm code, so I'm just going to use a PIN code, but it's nice that you've got the option there to use a password as well. So with PIN code selected, I'm just going to choose to add a new user. And with creating a user, all you need to do is just enter the name of a user and then also a code that that user is going to use. This name here doesn't need to be a username from HomeAssistant, it can be any name of anybody you want. So if you've got family members or friends that regularly visit the house or might be using your alarm system, you can just enter their name here and assign them a code. You've also got a couple of options then, so you can have that code automatically override the alarm and force the alarm, or you can actually modify what that person's code does. I'm just going to leave that as default and hit save. So we've got a user now added to our system, and that user is able to arm and disarm the alarm using their unique code. But currently we haven't got any sensors in our system, and we need to have some sensors so that we can actually secure points in areas across our house. So let's add some now. We do this by just clicking sensors up at the top. In here you can see we've got two different sections. We've got a section for sensors that are already configured and added to our system, and then we've got a section which is a list of all the different available sensors that we can add to our system. So what we now need to do is just scroll through our list, and we need to add the different sensors to our system. In your list of sensors, you'll see that there's a column for detected type, and this is a type that Alarmo has assigned to your various different entities. Now, don't worry if this doesn't match up with what the actual sensor is. So for example here, I've got this window contact, and Alarmo is assigning this to a door rather than a window. You can modify this type afterwards, which is what we'll do. So go through your list now and add a few sensors. Once you're happy with your selection of sensors, just scroll to the bottom and press Add to Alarm. You can always add more sensors at a later point by just following this process. And if we scroll back up to the top, you'll now see those sensors that I added in the list. All of these sensors are now available to the alarm system, and they can be used to trigger the alarms as well as set the various modes that are here. If you wanted to disable one of those sensors, you can just tick the little toggle here. As I said, the window contact wasn't assigned correctly, so if I just select that here, it will take me into an edit menu for the selected sensor, and here you can see a drop down for the type. So if I wanted to, I could just override that type, and if we just select this drop down, you'll see a list of all the different types that can be assigned to a sensor. So in my example here, this is a window, but it's assigned to a door, so I'm going to just assign this to a window. In this menu, you can also modify the enabled modes for the sensor, and you can also set up a group if you wanted to. There are even more settings available in the advanced setting menu. And in here you can do things like setting an exit delay, and you can also bypass the sensor. Again, these are all advanced settings and I'm not really going to be touching on these in this video. So with my device type now set as a window, I'm just going to hit save, and that will take me back to the main sensor page. As I said, you can add more sensors at any point by just selecting them from the list in the bottom, but if you wanted to remove a sensor, you'll need to select the sensor you want to remove, and in the edit menu you'll see an option to remove that sensor. With adding your sensors, setting a device type isn't mandatory, but if you set the device type correctly, then you do automatically get some benefits of it. So if you set the device type correctly, you're going to get the correct configuration options for that set device. So for example, my one that was a door that was actually a window, if I just left it as a door, it would automatically have got those configuration options for a door, and you might not necessarily want those as it's not an entry point, as you shouldn't really be entering through a window. So by changing it to a window, it just turned those things off automatically for me. But if you wanted to, you can just go into the advanced settings and you can manually configure and tweak those settings. So if you've got a specific use case or a different option that you want to have, you can do that in the advanced settings. So we've got a user and we've got some settings, but what we now need to add is some actions, and these are going to be the main guts of your alarm system, so what you want to happen at various points within the alarm. A good example of this is when your alarm gets set, you may want to send a notification to members of your household to say, hey, the alarm's set, or maybe when the alarm gets triggered, you want to set off the sirens or you want to have your lights change colours. This is where you'll do this in the actions. So just at the top, we're going to select actions, and you'll see again we've got two different sections. We've got a section here for notifications, and these are going to be notifications that are actually sent out or played based on various different alarm events. And then you've got actions, and these are going to be the physical things that happen when an alarm state changes. So with the two examples I gave you there, the first one we'd use a notification, and this would be to send a notification to members of the household when the alarm gets set. That would be where we do it here. But if we wanted to sound a siren if the alarm was triggered, we'd do that here as an action. Let's just quickly run through those now. So with notifications, we're just going to select new notification. In this UI, we've got a clear breakdown of how a notification's made up. So we've got a condition, we've got a task, and we've got an option. In the condition, you've got a list of different events that can be used to actually trigger the notification. So in our case here, we want to just go for when the alarm is armed. If you wanted to, you could also assign this notification to a specific mode. So if you only want this to occur on a set mode, then you can do that. I'm just going to leave this as default with the away and home mode. In task, we're going to need to set the target, and this is going to be the device or the group that we want to send our notification to. If I select the target there, it's going to auto-populate the list with all the different notification types that I've got available to me. So I've got a lot of Amazon Echoes around the house, so I could send it to any of those, or I could send it to my Sonos speakers, or I could send it to any mobile device that's connected to my system. Just as a simple example, I'm just going to set this to my phone. So in my case here, when the alarm gets armed, I want to send a notification to my phone just to say that the alarm's been armed. So I'm going to choose my phone as the target. You've then got a title and a message. The title is going to be the header of your notification, and then the message is going to be the body. So I've set the title here of my notification, and then I can set the message body. In the message body, you're able to make use of these different wildcards, and these wildcards can be inserted into the notification at any point. In this example here, this message is going to send a message that will say the alarm's been set, and it will exchange this arm mode using the wildcard, and it will tell me whatever mode it was set to. So if it was disarmed, it would say disarmed, and in my case here, it's going to be armed, so it will send me a notification saying it's been armed. What's nice about this interface is you can swap it to YAML mode if you wanted to build up your notification using YAML. You've also got a nice option to try the message out, so you can test your notification as you're building it up. For the final section of your notification, you can give it a name or a description, and this is just going to help you if you've got a lot of different notifications in your system. Another nice thing that Alarmo does is that when you select that box, it's going to auto-generate a name for you based on your selections. So here you can see it's generated a name for me, and this name makes sense with my notification, and I'm happy with that, so I'm just going to go ahead and press save. So I can see that notification in my list, and if I wanted to turn it off, I could just simply toggle this button here, or if I wanted to actually delete it, I could just select it, then scroll down to the bottom, and there's an option here to delete it. Now that we've got a notification created, we can go ahead and add an action. So we're going to select new action. And just as before, you'll see we've got the nice breakdown of the condition, the task, and the options. With the condition, we're going to set our event, and what this needs to be is alarm triggered. So when our alarm triggers, this task's going to be run. And in the task here, you can select an entity, and this is going to be a list of all the different devices that your Home Assistant has access to. In my case, I'm going to want to turn on my siren, so I'm just going to select my siren here. And if you wanted to, you could add multiple different entities to this list. So if you wanted to turn on lots of entities at the same time, then you could do that. So here I've got my siren switch selected, and I'm going to choose to turn it on. And just like before, if you wanted to test it out, you could just select this try button. In the options here, we're going to just select it, and it will just generate our name, and we're just going to press save. So I've got an action now, which is going to cause my siren to trigger when the alarm goes off. But now I need to disable that siren if the alarm gets disarmed. So again, I'm going to select new action. I'm going to want to set the event to be alarm is disarmed. I'm going to choose the siren again, and I'm going to choose to turn it off. And if we just auto-generate the name by selecting the box here, and I can then press save. So I've now got those two different actions, one that's going to trigger the siren and one that's going to turn the siren off. So with all of those things now set, I've got a very basic alarm system, and based on my sensors, if any of those sensors trigger while my alarm's armed, it's going to cause my action to kick in, and that siren should play out. Another bit of configuration that you can actually do is you can customize and modify the different modes that you've got available to you, and you can also do a similar thing but with areas. In the modes, you can go in and you can actually customize and define what happens with specific alarm modes. So for example, if you wanted to set a custom mode for something that happens at nighttime or if you're on vacation, you can do that. In this very basic example, I'm only going to be using the armed away mode, and if I select that, you can see I can drill down and I can customize the different trigger times and delays. So if I wanted to change how long the exit delay is, this is going to be how long you get before you have to get out of the house before the alarm goes off. And also the same thing but with entry. So in this example here, I'd have 60 seconds once I open and trigger those sensors to actually turn off the alarm system before it goes off. To customize this, you just adjust that slider and you can tweak it based on your own setup. For me, 60 seconds is probably quite a long time, so with my entry delay there, I could drop that down to say 30. Now when I enter the house, I'll have 30 seconds to actually disable the alarm before the alarm goes off. In this section, you can also set if this mode is enabled or disabled, so if you didn't want to use it, you could just disable it there. You can make use of areas to divide up your alarm system into multiple different compartments. A good example of this is, say, if you've got a guest house or you've got a garage that's external and you wanted to set up custom alarms or you wanted to arm sections without arming other parts of your house, then areas is what you'd use. So we're not done just yet. We now need to add the interface options so that we can actually punch in that pin code and we can actually arm and disarm the alarm. So head over to whatever dashboard you're going to use to add your alarm panel to. So here I've got a blank tab on my dashboard, and personally for the alarm I like to set the view type as sidebar, and the reason for this is because I like to have this little side menu here that shows me all the different contact sensors that I have on the house, just so I can get a clear visual indicator when something's open or closed. And again, this is just an example, so you can do this however you want, but what we're now going to do is we're going to add our Alarmo card. So if we select add card in the bottom right corner, and in the top here we're just going to start typing alarm. You'll see we've got the default Home Assistant alarm panel, which is actually supported by Alarmo, but then we've got this custom Alarmo card, and the custom one gives you a couple of extra bits that the normal one doesn't. The main one being the nice little countdown that you see when you actually trigger the alarm. So I'm going to select the Alarmo card there. With that selected, we can configure how our alarm card's going to look. The first bit of information we need to provide is the entity. So if we select the drop down there, we're going to choose our Alarmo control panel. And when you select that, you'll be able to see how it's going to look just on the right hand side here. With the actions, you'll be able to see any of the different alarm modes that you currently have turned on. So here I can see arm away and arm home. I'm only going to be using arm away, so I'm just going to turn this one off for now. You've then got two different sliders here. The first one is going to adjust the size of the action button, and that's going to be the button that you press to actually arm the alarm. And the second one is going to be to adjust the size of the keypad buttons. And these are two nice things to have, as depending on your screen size, you might want to have bigger buttons just to make it easier to press. Just for convenience and to make it a bit easier to control on my tablet, I'm just going to make these a little bit bigger. You've then got two toggles which are more for visual things. So you've got an option here for showing an icon. So if you didn't want the box there to say clear and you just wanted the backspace icon, you could just set that to be on. You've then also got a toggle for the diagnostic messages. So these are the messages that appear to tell you that the alarm's failed to set or that there's something wrong with the alarm. Personally, I choose to have this on, as if there's any problems or any notifications from the alarm, you want to be able to see those on the actual alarm panel. I'm happy with those settings, so I'm just going to go ahead and press save. And with that done, that's our alarm panel added to our dashboard. So just to make this a bit easier to see, I've adjusted the timings on the alarm, but if you were now to enter the code for your alarm and choose arm away, the alarm would start entering arming mode, and it would start the countdown for the exit delay, and then once this countdown reaches its end, it will then be armed. With the alarm now armed, if any of those sensors that are defined were triggered, the alarm would then start the countdown for the disarm to trigger, and if you were looking at the alarm when it actually triggered, you'll see that the actual message appears on the alarm for why it's been triggered. So now my alarm's been triggered and the countdown is starting. So mine set as 30 seconds, so within that 30 seconds, if the alarm code isn't entered, then the alarm's going to sound. When the alarm does trigger, you'll see in this little message box, if you've got it turned on, the reason that the alarm was triggered. In my case now, the siren would be going off and it will keep going off until the alarm's disarmed. And there we go guys, that's been a quick look at how to set up and build a very basic alarm system using Alarmo and Home Assistant. This video has just scratched the surface of what you can do with Alarmo, and if you are interested in knowing a bit more or you want to see a more advanced feature video, then let me know in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this video and found it useful, then don't forget to drop me a like, and if you're not already, hit that subscribe button and ding dong the notification bell. You'll then be alerted to any future video that I do. And as always, a massive thank you to these awesome dudes. These awesome dudes are my Patreons. If you're interested in helping support my channel, which in turn allows me to create content like this, then you'll find a link to my Patreon in the description below. If you want to check out a premium alarm system that I've had a look at, then check out this video here, or if you want to see some of my other Home Assistant videos, then check out these ones here. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.